Now at 11, justice for the family of Paula Dyer. Billy Ray Irick was put to death tonight for raping and killing that 7-year-old girl in 1985.
It's somewhat ironic that we talk about and take so much time and effort in determining what's the most humane way to kill a murderer.
Tonight, why it took so long to get here, 3 decades after the crime.
Very outgoing and very friendly. She never met a stranger.
Why this night matters for the mother of that 7-year-old and the final words spoken by her killer.
10 News is brought to you in high definition exclusively by Harper Auto Square. WBIR 10 News starts now.
Breaking tonight, the state executed the man convicted of raping and murdering 7-year-old Paula Dyer. Her family was in the execution room getting the justice they've been waiting for more than 3 decades. In 1985, Billy Ray Irick was babysitting Paula and her brothers. Irick later admitted to locking the boys out of the room where he raped and killed that little girl. The case still haunts the family and a lead detective. Convicted and sentenced to death in 1986, Irick survived on death row ever since through a string of appeals. The U.S. Supreme Court denied a final appeal today, and tonight, just before 9 o'clock, the state of Tennessee used a lethal injection to end the life of Billy Ray Irick. My colleague Robin Wilhoit is anchoring our live coverage tonight from Nashville. Robin?
Well, John, we are just down the road from Riverbend where, yes, at 8:48 tonight, Billy Ray Irick was put to death for the brutal rape and murder of Paula Dyer. For 32 years, he sat on death row. Tonight, a group of witnesses, including 7 media members, witnessed his execution. I want to give you a rundown of what they recounted. At 7:42, those witnesses were taken into a witness chamber. At 8:26, the curtains were open to show Irick on a gurney. At 8:28, injections were administered, and the witnesses noticed Irick was snoring at that time. At 8:34, he was taking deep breaths and puffing. Then at 8:36, they recount Irick turning a purplish color. At 8:37, no longer snoring. And at 8:46, the blinds were closed. And at 8:48, Billy Ray Irick was pronounced dead. Now, among the media members to be there to witness the execution was our own John North. He joins us now to talk about what you experienced, John, and saw firsthand. Anything that alarmed you as they were administering the drugs?
What I was curious about, Robin, was how he was going to react once the drugs were administered. Because there's been a lot of controversy, especially about the sedative. There's still litigation that's pending. He's dead, but there's still litigation pending about whether when that first sedative is administered to him, is he still experiencing pain. The thing that struck me was the heavy, constant breathing, and then there was one point where he sort of jerked involuntarily forward a little bit, and I thought, this will be interesting to see if he does it again. He only did it once, but the whole process probably, honestly, lasted about 9 minutes, I would guess, really.
Right. He had no family there to be with him leading up to the execution, but his attorney was there, and you talked to him.
Yeah, I did. Gene Shiles has worked on his behalf for roughly 8 or 9 years. He's a Chattanooga lawyer. He said he told me he felt really confident that things were going to go for his client's way until about 2:30 or 3. That's about the time that the Supreme Court put out the word that they were not going to entertain any kind of a stay. And then he began to accept the fact that this was really going to happen and there was nothing more that he could do. His client was going to die today.
What was his client's demeanor through the day that he said?
I asked him about that, and he said that Mr. Irick was taking it with grace and handling it well. And Mr. Shiles said actually he was probably taking it a lot better than I would have.
All right. John North, thank you so much for recounting, which I know had to be a surreal experience, but something that the media is called to do in these circumstances.
Definitely.
John, thank you very much. Among those who were at Riverbend, not only the family members of the victim who witnessed, but also protesters, not only in Knoxville, but here in Nashville. And with that, I want to bring in my colleague, Leslie Ackerson. You were able to talk to some folks who were definitely against what played out at Riverbend today.
That's right, Robin. They did have a space where protesters against and for could come and share their thoughts. We did learn that about 58 people protested against what was happening today, and there were 8 people in support of Irick's execution. Now, when the gates opened for those people who wanted to participate in that, I did get a chance to talk to the first guy who got on the property. He was wearing a habit. He says he was a Franciscan Catholic priest and felt what was happening today was unfair.
Most of the people in prison, in jails, are mentally ill, frankly. Most of them. And the second common denominator is that they're poor. That's who goes to prison.
And that's just one thought that one person had. And we know that a person inside today watching this execution thought the complete opposite. That would be Paula Dyer's mom, Kathy Jeffers, who has lived with this for 30 years, did not get to see her daughter grow up, make new memories with her. And that's something that keeps getting reiterated is do not forget why today happened, why Irick has been on death row, why he was executed today. He took the life, he raped and murdered a 7-year-old girl who did not get to live out her life. And her mother says the pain will probably never be taken away. But she was hoping for some closure today.
The suffering don't stop. It just doesn't stop. I'm sick of hearing about his pain and his suffering. This one doctor says his so-called panic attacks if he's given this injection. She was 7 years old, raped, sodomized, and strangled to death. I'm sorry, I feel nothing for his panic attacks or his pain. Nothing at all. God forgive me, but I don't.
Kathy was kind enough to sit down with one of our reporters earlier this week and share those thoughts. We didn't get to speak to her this evening. The family was taken off in a black van as soon as they were let out from the execution. But that's definitely what she wanted people to know, is just to focus on her daughter, who is no longer alive. 30 years. How old would Paula be today?
Exactly. It's
been decades.
3 decades in the making. Leslie, thank you very much. And yes, 3 decades that Billy Ray Irick sat on death row. So many of you asking why it took so long. 10 News reporter Cole Sullivan asked the Knox County DA that exact question.
Prosecutors know the death penalty doesn't come fast.
It usually causes the case to drag out for a longer period of time.
It took more than 30 years for Billy Irick to enter the execution chamber.
It causes the actual punishment to go on for so long.
Some of that is by design. Seeking the death penalty means special protocol.
He is then entitled to a long appellate process. Like you've seen in this case, it's taken 33 years to get through that appellate process.
One of the reasons it took so long, courts had to rule whether the execution drugs would cause too much pain.
It's somewhat ironic that we talk about and take so much time and effort in determining what's the most humane way to kill a murderer.
But Knoxville defense attorney Stephen Johnson says that protection is important.
And if we don't protect the rights and the liberties and the respect for humanity of the people who it's easiest to diminish those rights and diminish that humanity in, the people who are convicted of crimes, even horrific crimes, then it becomes easier to do that for all of us.
He says thorough appeals are necessary, although court intervention is rare.
Yes, there is a lot of review that occurs in death penalty cases, but a lot of it is pro forma.
Now that the court has ruled the drugs are okay in Irick's case, more prisoners could be headed to the execution chamber.
I hope that this is the first of many that we get done just to provide closure for the victims.
Cole Sullivan, WBIR 10 News.
Now, the DA says since the death penalty takes so long, they oftentimes seek life in prison without parole. She says that can give the family some sense of closure at least. Now, there are inmates who have actually been on death row longer than Billy Ray Irick. Some of you have asked why Irick was executed first. Former Tennessee Supreme Court Judge Gary Wade says different appeals take different amounts of time. Inmates are not executed in order of conviction.
Each one has a different timeline, and there is no lining up in the first in, first out process in the criminal justice system.
Gary Wade says a single appeal can sometimes take 3 years, so it's a considerable amount of time. Of course, not everyone approved of the execution of Billy Ray Irick. Tonight, people gathered in West Knoxville to protest the execution. Tennesseans for Alternatives to the Death Penalty voiced their concerns. It took place at the Church of the Savior. Organizers say they are opposing the death penalty, but they are remembering the victims.
This is a tragedy on multiple fronts, and we don't want to lose the sense that multiple people have been affected by this for many, many years, and many people are going to be affected by it tonight as well.
Now, the group says executions affect more than a single person, and everyone involved faces a psychological burden that cannot be avoided. Now, a separate group called Conservatives Concerned shared their concerns about the death penalty with people in Morristown. Group manager Hannah Cox, biggest concern is the possibility an innocent person could be executed.
The first thing that caught my attention were the innocence issues within the death penalty system. We've had 162 people exonerated, and while that might sound like a small number of people, it's actually one person released for innocence issues for every 10 executions we've had in this country.
And she adds another concern is the cost of carrying out the death penalty. But that did play out tonight here in Nashville at Riverbend, where Billy Ray Irick was put to death by lethal injection at 8:48 tonight for the rape and murder of Paula Dyer. 7 years old. This happened back in 1985. In 2018, he's put to death. John, we'll send it back to you now.
Robin Wilhoit anchoring our coverage tonight from Nashville, and you can find more about the Billy Ray Irick execution right now at our website. There we do have video from each of the witnesses who watched him die. We also have information about the original investigation into the rape and murder of that little girl, Paula Dyer, all at WBIR.com. Collecting soda can tabs to donate to charity. Sounds like an easy task, but what about 3 million tabs? Coming up, meet a man who spent decades gathering those small metal pieces for a good cause. And a warning for parents about heavy backpacks, the limits doctors say you should put on just how much your kids are carrying.
Hope you're having a good, safe night. Mostly fair skies, some foggy conditions for us tonight. We are watching a batch of showers, a few thunderstorms in Middle Tennessee. Could be arriving in East Tennessee early in the morning. Your school day and Friday forecast when we return.
It's time to check your medicine cabinet. CVS is recalling its nasal spray mist. The nationwide recall is due to a bacterial contamination. The FDA claims the repeated use of this product could be deadly for people suffering from cystic fibrosis or compromised immune systems. The recall involved the 0.5 ounce bottle of CVS Health 12-hour sinus relief nasal mist. Back to school in the digital age is opening the door to some etiquette questions. Should you send a friend request to your child's teacher on social media, or perhaps you're the parent that sends details of the new shared custody arrangements? Monica Garcia explains how to find balance.
It wasn't too long ago that parents had to wait until the end of the semester to have that one-on-one conversation with their child's teacher. But thanks to the many forms of communication we have at our fingertips, that conversation can be instantaneous.
Many school districts require teachers to be in email contact with parents.
And it can be confusing, that parent-teacher etiquette. For example, should you friend your child's teacher on social media?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't until the teacher asked me to.
Child development expert Dr. Jill Stam.
You wouldn't go barging into someone's classroom uninvited, and so you don't go into their space, their mental space.
There are other back-to-school etiquette questions. Cell phones. Kids have them, but what about checking in with your child in the middle of the school day? Regardless of smartphones are welcome in the classroom.
Absolutely not. Kids depend on seeing their parent as stable. but they see in their parents this hypervigilance, and it causes them to be hypervigilant, and that's what leads to anxiety.
And then there's TMI. Too much information. So when is it okay to provide teachers with details about you and your child's private lives?
The death of a very close family member, it would be a divorce. Substance abuse issues.
Circumstances your child could internalize, affecting their emotional state at school or even their health. If your child is being bullied, that's also a reason to contact a teacher.
Another tip that may be easier said than done, that expert recommends when you drop your child off at school, try not to cry. You don't want your children to feel unsafe for some reason. Let them know that you love them and that you'll get them out of there as soon as possible. As parents, there's so much to worry about as kids head back to school. Doctors say the weight of your child's backpack is a big one. They say a backpack should weigh no more than 15% of a person's body weight. That typically works out to be no more than about 8 pounds for a second grader and 9 pounds for a fourth grader, only 15 pounds for an eighth grader. And doctors say carrying more can strain muscles across the body.
It can be something significant because it can lead to some significant long-term issues with chronic back pain and posture issues.
That pediatrician says those same guidelines also apply to adults. So, are you going to pack a rain jacket or at least an umbrella tomorrow morning? We're going to check in with Chief Meteorologist Todd Howe once again. Todd,
yeah,
stormy night again, at least we saw there in Middle Tennessee, and we've seen some lingering showers as well.
Yeah, lingering showers, and that batch of Middle Tennessee tonight, we saw the rain in Nashville. That could be moving our way by first thing in the morning. Viewer photo tonight, though. What a gorgeous sunset. A couple of things going on here. Beautiful sunset. This is in Fairfield Glade. And after this evening showers, just before the sunset, you can see the condensation, the fog, and the low clouds developing. And yes, indeed. And that is a clue of what we'll continue to see overnight. Areas of fog, and then some of that convection in Middle Tennessee could give us a chance for showers first thing in the morning. Here's the updated almanac for Knoxville today. We hit 86 for the high, low of 68. 51/100ths at McGee-Tyson Airport. And for the month, already over 3 inches. Matter of fact, 3.08. Our monthly average for the whole month of August for Knoxville, 3.27. So we just need 19/100ths more. Couple of tenths and we'll be right at average, and here we are just 9 days in. Yearly surplus right at about 4.5 inches. You can see the low clouds and fog. This is a live view from Sharps Ridge overlooking Knoxville. Low clouds and fog will continue to develop, so some lower visibilities. Once again, drive carefully overnight. May want to allow a little extra time early in the morning coming and going, and perhaps that morning commute to school. 69 degrees, winds are southwest at 5. The pressure slowly rising. Humidity 100%. When the temperature and the dew point are equal, the air mass is saturated, and you have humidity as high as it can go. Matter of fact, steady temperatures pretty much expected the rest of tonight. So we are looking at a batch of high clouds moving just west of Knoxville, moving in, mostly fair skies for us. There's that scattered showers and a few thunderstorms, slowly but surely moving into Nashville, right in the heart of Middle Tennessee. Let's pick it up from this vantage point right here. Watch this shower activity. It's going to slide eastward. So by early in the morning, between 5 and 7 a.m., there will actually be some of these passing rain showers expected to slide in. So for your early morning commute, you want to have that umbrella handy, or at least a poncho early. A little bit of a break late morning, and then it looks like once we get past lunchtime into the early to mid-afternoon, some more scattered showers, a few isolated storms possible. So a little bit more unsettled weather at times for your Friday. So here's your school day forecast tomorrow. Again, some patchy fog overnight, that chance for showers. First thing in the morning at the bus stop, mostly cloudy at lunchtime, 78, scattered thunder showers on the way home, possible, expected by mid-afternoon with temperatures around 83 degrees. Again, steady temperatures tonight, upper 60s to lower 70s right now. Knoxville 69 should pretty much hold right about that for the rest of tonight. Nashville 78 and Memphis at 76 degrees. So here's the regional view. Again, a little bit of a weak disturbances kind of flowing in from the Mississippi into the Tennessee Valley. That next disturbance in Middle Tennessee arriving in the morning. And then we'll see another one moving in the afternoon for more spotty to scattered thunder showers possible. That's Friday. Clearing by Friday night. The weekend should be improving somewhat by Saturday. Can't rule out an isolated thunder shower or two, but a little bit drier pattern overall. And the Perseid meteor shower peaks this weekend. Hopefully we'll get some decent viewing by Saturday night. 69 tonight, again, some fair skies and fog, some showers possible early. Scattered thunder showers tomorrow, lower 80s. And we're pretty much holding steady in the mid 80s through the weekend. Isolated chances Saturday, a few more spotty storms Sunday.
Todd, thanks for the update.
You're welcome.
Many people do their share of recycling, but what about collecting millions of soda tabs for charity? We'll meet the man who scours neighborhoods for those small metal pieces.
Straight from the heart of East Tennessee, this is 10 News Night Beat.
Lots of people collect aluminum cans for recycling. Some even save tabs as a fundraiser for Ronald McDonald House. But few people have done so with the passion of a Minnesota man. Boyd Hubert pops over to Medford, Minnesota for that man's story.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Whew, that's a lot of pop. But what if your thirst for Pop Tops still isn't quenched? What if you're Jim Spindler?
This is 3 million tabs.
3 million.
Over 3 million.
Like doing 100 dues a day for 82 years.
1 tab at a time.
Or 4 tabs every day since the birth of, yeah, him.
Big box.
A big box, now strapped and bulging.
Around 1,500 to make a pound.
Literally, a ton of tabs. And still not enough. Every tab in Jim's collection was once attached to a can.
A lot of people bring cans down here.
By Jim's estimate, half the city of Medford.
And they know I'm saving tabs, so they said, I'm not taking the tabs off the cans. You can have the cans too. There's the switch.
Which is why Jim now owns a crusher built of parts from an old airport baggage carrier. His version of shotgunning beers. But even this isn't enough.
That's
it. Sometimes twice a day, Jim goes on a Coca-Cola cruise, a Pepsi pilgrimage, a 7-Up safari.
I'm looking for pop cans and tabs and beautiful women.
Today, Jim's a victim of his own diligence.
I don't see none of them. Look at the streets, look how clean it is.
Now, the former garbage man has just one goal left.
Them are the extra ones. I haven't weighed them yet.
After 30 years of collecting Pop Tops,
you betcha,
Jim's scrambling to get every last tab before donating his collection for scrap to help families at Rochester's Ronald McDonald House.
Nobody's going to change my mind.
So drink up. After 3 decades of nonstop Pop Tops, Jim Spindler is about to put a lid on it.
Way to go, Jim. In June, Jim and his tabs rode on a float in his town's annual parade. He figures one more parade next June, then he's dropping them off at the Ronald McDonald House. This weekend, you can spend an evening feasting with the Beast. What you need to know about that event put on by Zoo Knoxville and how to get tickets next. It's a chance to interact with animals after hours at Zoo Knoxville and eat and drink as well. This Saturday is Feast with the Beasts. All the proceeds benefit Zoo Knoxville. Friendly animals like Georgie will be especially active. He lives in the Langer and Gibbon Trail habitat. Guests will gather on the giraffe feeding platform, see elephants as well as rhinos. Lots of food and drinks and tickets are available through their website, zooknoxville.org, and the weather looks pretty favorable for that, Todd.
Folks will be hanging out. Let's take a look. Spotty to scattered thunder showers, improving weather for your Saturday. It's isolated chances. Luke is laughing. It's a good sign.
Luke is laughing. Have a great start to your Friday. Good night, Katie.